This video is how I treat melasma through an integrative approach through nutrition, lifestyle, supplements, and of course, skincare. So you might be doing everything right. You're using expensive creams, you're covering up your skin with makeup, you're avoiding the sun, yet those stubborn brown patches still won't go away. But what if I told you melasma isn't just a skin problem? In today's video, I'll show you how I help patients fade melasma by looking beyond the surface. We'll explore the science of nutrition, lifestyle, and of course, skincare that actually works, backed by peer-reviewed research and years of clinical experience. I'm Dr. Amina, a triple board certified dermatologist. I combine medical science with lifestyle medicine along with my 16 plus years of clinical experience to help people unlock healthier skin from the inside out. And today, let's talk about something that so many people deal with and is the bane of so many people's existences, and that is melasma. In this video, I definitely dive into some aspects of melasma that many derms don't talk about. These include lifestyle, nutrition, and supplements that can all play a role. Of course, I'm gonna share my favorite skincare tips too. Stick around till the end because I'll share 2 powerful ingredient combinations that I use with my patients that make a huge difference, and of course, how to incorporate everything into a regular skincare routine. So first of all, what is melasma really? Melasma is more than a cosmetic concern. It's a chronic pigment disorder that often appears as brown or gray-brown patches, usually on the face. It's more common in women, especially in darker skin tones, and it's influenced by things like hormones, of course, UV exposure, and genetics can definitely play a role. The brown patches we'll often see like on the forehead, cheeks, sometimes we'll see it above the lip, we'll call that the melasma mustache. And yeah, like I said, we could see this with hormonal changes. These include things like pregnancy or the postpartum stage. We definitely see it often in people who go on birth control or people who go off birth control. So any kind of changes in your hormonal status. We've also seen it in people with thyroid issues like Hashimoto's thyroiditis. The thing that's really frustrating about melasma is that there's usually some kind of internal reason why people have it. That's why it can be one of the most stubborn skin conditions derms treat. We can do everything, we can do all the skincare, all the procedures, but it can come right back sometimes if the underlying issue is not addressed or if you keep going out in the sun without sunscreen. But like I said, oftentimes we can't find a cause and it can be extremely frustrating. So studies show that melasma involves not only just overactive melanocytes, but also inflammation, as well as UV damage and changes in the skin structure. So that means any effective treatment needs to go beyond the skin surface and address things like inflammation. We also know that heat can play a role, so I'm very cautious about people who do certain activities that cause excessive heat on the face, and I'm very cautious about certain procedures that can increase heat on the skin. So first, let's talk about how we can nourish the skin from within. Melasma is linked to this process called oxidative stress. This is a buildup of free radicals. Free radicals are unstable molecules that can damage skin cells, or any cells in the body, really. A 2023 review in the journal Antioxidants found that melasma patients had significantly higher oxidative markers and lower antioxidants in their blood. So how do we fix that? Well, one way is by eating for our skin. We could eat things that are rich in antioxidants. We can eat foods rich in vitamin C, like citrus fruits, or vitamin E, like almonds, and polyphenols, like green tea, resveratrol. Having antioxidants in your diet can help neutralize these free radicals or unstable molecules. And it's really not just about one superfood. It's also choosing just like a consistent anti-inflammatory whole foods diet. I think the classic example, and I say this is a classic example because it's the most studied, is just the Mediterranean diet, where you're eating more whole foods, things like olive oil, more fruits and vegetables, and fiber. Interestingly, there was a study that gave women a supplement containing grapeseed proanthocyanidins and antioxidant vitamins, and they saw visible improvements in pigmentation in just 8 weeks. So I'm saying this because it just goes to show that antioxidants can improve melasma. Now I'm going to take it a step further and talk about certain antioxidants that have been shown in studies to specifically improve melasma and supplements that we incorporate and recommend to patients today. So let's start with one of the most researched ones, and that is Polypodium leucotomus, also known as Heliocare or Fern Block. So this is a fern extract that acts like an internal sunscreen, kind of cool. It reduces UV and visible light induced inflammation, which of course is a big deal for melasma. I recommend this to so many of my patients, especially during the sunnier summer months. A common brand is HelioCare or HelioCare Ultra. I'm also a really big fan of the oral supplement Sun Powder, which has HelioCare, and then this other ingredient that I'm about to talk about, so that is glutathione. Glutathione is one of your body's master antioxidants. It works by shifting pigment production towards a lighter type of melanin, kind of cool. So some studies show that skin brightening effects, especially in oral or sublingual forms, can be helpful. You want to look for liposomal delivery systems for better absorption. Like I said, Sun Powder has glutathione with polypodium leucotomus. If you just want like straight up glutathione, there's like brands like Now. Next ingredient is pycnogenol or pycnogenol. This is a French maritime pine bark extract, and it's another powerful antioxidant. In small studies, it did help reduce melasma and even out skin tone. It also helps with circulation and skin hydration. Douglas Labs makes a good one. The pycnogenol and Life Extension also makes a good one with this. All right, next ingredient is ginkgo biloba. So we think of this for like dementia, but it could actually reduce oxidative stress and melanin production, especially when combined with other antioxidants. And you'll find it in oral blends like the Isdin Pigment Expert or the Pigmentation Defense from Foundation Skincare. Next, we have alpha lipoic acid. This is one of my favorite underrated antioxidants. It can actually help recycle other antioxidants like vitamin C and glutathione, and it has the potential to calm oxidative stress that contributes to pigmentation. This one is found in Pigmentation Defense from Foundation Skincare. And then we have N-acetylcysteine or NAC, and this is a glutathione precursor. So think of it as glutathione's support system. It helps your body create more of its own glutathione. This is especially helpful if you're looking to address pigment issues from the inside out. All right. Next, let's talk about lifestyle habits that can worsen or improve melasma. There are 3 major components of lifestyle changes that you can make that will not only help you tone down melasma, but also give you better skin and health. Like we're reducing oxidative stress through these other lifestyle changes too. All right, so first we have sunlight and blue light protection. This is probably the biggest thing that we should be paying attention to. We all know that the sun, UV rays can worsen melasma, but here's what people miss a lot is that blue light, visible light, indoor lighting can also contribute to pigmentation. So it's really annoying. It's like you just can't escape. So this is why I often recommend tinted sunscreens. We want to look for things that contain iron oxide. Iron oxide is what contributes to the pigment in tinted sunscreens, because this can further help block visible light, blue light. Interestingly, like the foundation in your makeup has iron oxide, so that can help too. But obviously, you need to also wear sunscreen in addition to foundation. And then of course, chronic stress plays a role. Stress hormones like cortisol can disrupt your skin balance and increase inflammation. Inflammation can increase pigmentation. Stress also increases oxidative stress. Yeah, I mean like mental stress can increase the body's physiological oxidative stress. Like it can cause the free radicals to form, which can wreak havoc on your cells, both your skin cells, other body cells, and just cause damage. That's why we just see so many issues when people are stressed out. We see a lot of health issues and increased rates of cancer. But yeah, melasma too. And then of course, let's not forget sleep. It matters so much. Poor sleep affects your skin regeneration, your immune response. You want to aim for 7 to 8 hours, la da da. I know that's like so cliche, but it's insane how much sleep plays a role with like everything health-wise. But if you really care about your melasma, you want to get regular sleep. And I also tell people, yes, 7 to 8 hours is important, but you also want to get like consistent sleep during the same hours every day. So simply speaking, use protection against sunlight and blue light as much as possible. Reduce stress, and having enough sleep will all be beneficial for your melasma. And you could watch these videos for a more detailed explanation of each one of them. All right, next let's break down the most effective ingredients for treating melasma, both the tried and true and some cutting edge ingredients. I'm gonna break them down into 2 tiers. So tier 1, this is the more clinically established powerhouses. First, we have hydroquinone. This is the gold standard for melasma, okay? It works by blocking this enzyme called tyrosinase. So the tyrosinase enzyme is responsible for melanin production. And honestly, hydroquinone is probably gonna be the best skin lightening ingredient out there. It works well in most people. I do recommend using it in cycles. That is the downside. I don't recommend people using it every day for months or years on end. I usually have people take breaks every 3 to 6 months, depending on their skin type, depending on the concentration of hydroquinone. It is only available as a prescription. We tell people to take breaks from it mainly because we don't want you to get this super rare side effect called ochronosis, where you get like this worse form of hyperpigmentation that is much, much more difficult to treat. It's so rare. The risks are higher if you have darker skin tones and if you're using a very high concentration of hydroquinone. So yes, please remember to give it breaks. Number 2 are retinoids. Retinoids can speed up skin cell turnover. It can help to fade existing pigment and enhance the penetration of other ingredients. Bonus, they also help with fine lines and texture, making them both a staple in acne patients, melasma patients, patients who want to work on wrinkles, fine lines, anti-aging. I believe that everyone with melasma should be on a retinoid. And there's a lot of gentle over-the-counter retinols where most people can tolerate them. The prescription retinoids I do think work better, but they have a higher risk for irritation. Next, we have tranexamic acid. Interestingly, this ingredient was used to treat like excessive bleeding in OBGYN patients, but now it's found its second life in dermatology. It works by blocking pathways that trigger excess pigment production. I like it because it's gentle, it's effective, and yes, it can be helpful in topical forms. It just has to be used in a formulation that allows it to penetrate the skin, because that's one of the biggest things is the tranexamic penetrating the skin. But honestly, the oral tranexamic acid is a huge game changer. It's a prescription. It's what I use for people with really stubborn melasma, and it makes a huge difference. This, of course, has to be done under the guidance of your dermatologist. And I'm cautious in those who are at risk for blood clotting disorders, because like I said, it was used in OBGYN for people who had like increased bleeding. So it helps stop the bleeding for like uterine bleeding. But I haven't seen any issues in dermatology. But of course, like I said, you have to be under the guidance of your dermatologist, and they'll have a plan for you for that. Next, we have azelaic acid. So I like this because it's a multitasking ingredient. It's anti-inflammatory, antibacterial, anti-pigment. You can use it in pregnancy. You can use it on sensitive skin. It's a jack of all trades. I kind of say it's a jack of all trades, master of none, because it's like not that strong. But it's amazing that it can do so many different things. So it's a good ingredient to have in your back pocket. I often recommend it for people with rosacea and melasma. And of course, if people are pregnant, I definitely recommend it for pregnant patients with melasma, which is a very common thing that we see during pregnancy. Interestingly, there have been studies that showed that 20% azelaic acid can be as effective as 4% hydroquinone. So that's promising. I do have to say, in real life, clinically, when treating patients, hydroquinone does still work better, but I definitely see improvement with azelaic acid, and it's nice to have that as an option, especially if people cannot use hydroquinone. Next is kojic acid. This ingredient is derived from mushrooms. It's a natural tyrosinase inhibitor. It can help fade dark spots. It's often used in combination with other ingredients. I don't think kojic acid alone is amazing, but yeah, definitely if there's a hyperpigmentation product out there, I think it's helpful to have kojic acid in there. You just want to be cautious. At too high of a concentration, it can be irritating in some people. All right, next we have niacinamide. This is what we love for skin barrier support, but it can also help diminish transfer of pigment from cell to cell, and that's how it helps with hyperpigmentation. Kind of like azelaic acid, I look at niacinamide as a jack of all trades, but a master of none, because it does so many things. It's like anti-inflammatory, it helps with your skin barrier, it helps reduces pigmentation. It's not like the strongest thing out there, so I wouldn't say like you have to get a niacinamide product. So many moisturizers and so many serums and anti-hyperpigmentation products include niacinamide in it. It's like a wonderful like supporting actor, as I like to call it. I think it pairs beautifully with other actives. It's great for sensitive skin, I would say under 5%, and it's a staple. I would just have it like part of your moisturizer or your serum. All right, next we have vitamin C. I think everyone should also have a vitamin C in their skincare regimen. This is a potent antioxidant that helps protect against UV-induced pigmentation. We love vitamin C, so not only can it brighten the skin, it can also help with collagen remodeling, so it has the anti-wrinkle aspect of it too. The issue with vitamin C is just making sure that you have a stabilized form of it, and one of the most popular forms is L-ascorbic acid. It has to be formulated correctly so that it doesn't oxidize easily. I'm also a big fan of THD ascorbate because that one's super stable and it's great for sensitive skin. So that was tier 1. Next we're gonna go to tier 2, where it's more emerging ingredients, kind of more cutting edge, stuff that might be used more worldwide. I talked about like the stuff that we have a lot of solid research for in the US. So we have different resorcinols. We have the phenylethyl resorcinol, also known as Sym-White 377. This is a synthetic resorcinol derivative. It's a powerful tyrosinase inhibitor. brightens your skin, face discoloration. It has antioxidant benefits with less irritation than hydroquinone. There's another popular resorcinol called thiamidol. So this has been huge in the Eucerin Radiant Tone collection. It's actually pretty popular in Europe. And it's been shown in studies to rival hydroquinone in fading melasma, and it has also a better tolerability profile. And then there's another resorcinol, 4-butyl resorcinol, that's found in a lot of Korean and German pigment treatments. It's one of the most effective tyrosinase inhibitors out there, actually, because it can target both surface and like deeper melasma. All right, next there's arbutin, which is a plant-derived cousin of hydroquinone. I would say it's a little bit more gentle than hydroquinone. It's not going to be as potent. We see this more so in Asian skincare, but it's used a lot in the US too. Another ingredient that I would say is still pretty popular, both globally and in the US, is licorice root extract. So this can help reduce inflammation as well as melanin production. I think it's one of those ingredients that's a great supportive ingredient. I love it, especially for people with sensitive or reactive skin types. So people who have rosacea and melasma, this would be an ingredient that I would look into as well. Next ingredient, which I actually am a big fan of, is cysteamine. And this is an ingredient that targets multiple steps in melanin production. The downside, it has like this weird kind of sulfur smell, but I do think it works. Usually it's in a type of cream that you would leave on your skin for like 10 to 15 minutes and then you'd have to wash off. I know I just listed like a bunch of different ingredients, but I'm gonna list my favorite hyperpigmentation products in the description box below that lists or contains most of these ingredients that I talked about. And just as a reminder, hydroquinone and tretinoin are only available as prescription medicines. But what's the point of knowing all of these ingredients if you don't know how to incorporate them into a routine? Well, let's talk about the best skincare routine for somebody with melasma. Let me break down a skincare regimen I often recommend for melasma-prone skin. So in the morning, you're gonna use a gentle cleanser, followed by an antioxidant serum, so something with vitamin C, and then pick a skin lightening product. It could be hydroquinone or it could be one of the other products that I mentioned in the description box below. And then of course, you're gonna follow that up with a tinted sunscreen, SPF 30 or higher, and make sure it says broad spectrum, which most sunscreens do. All right, in the evening, you're gonna wash your face, then you're gonna use hydroquinone or some kind of skin lightening product that I mentioned in the description box below. Then you're gonna follow that with a retinoid, whether it's prescription tretinoin, over-the-counter retinol, or adapalene. And then you're gonna follow that with a moisturizer. You could look for a moisturizer with niacinamide. And then also important is I recommend incorporating some kind of exfoliating product 1 to 3 times per week, usually in place of a retinoid. We wanna kind of increase the skin cell turnover more, and some kind of glycolic acid product will help with that. Some pigmentation serums will also have a little bit of exfoliating, like alpha hydroxy acid, like glycolic acid in them. And of course, you want to avoid harsh scrubs, essential oils, lemon-based DIY therapies. These will all like just irritate the skin and worsen hyperpigmentation, okay? So many people will turn to lemon because they think it'll brighten their skin, and it will cause some disastrous consequences to your skin, so I would not recommend it. And I list the skincare regimen and all these ingredients because melasma is not just like, oh, you just use one ingredient, you just use vitamin C, or you just use sunscreen and it fixes it. You need a whole cocktail of all these ingredients, which is why a skincare regimen like the one I just mentioned is super important. You also just wanna make sure that you are protecting your skin like it is your job. The other important thing is to give it time. Hyperpigmentation is not something that quickly fades. I tell people at least 3 to 6 months. And usually my patient follow-ups are like 3 to 6 months too. All right, let's talk about some case studies and real world examples. So I recently worked with a new mom whose melasma appeared after her first pregnancy. She used sunscreen consistently. During her pregnancy, she used azelaic acid. She used niacinamide containing moisturizers. She tried to eat a diet full of like antioxidant rich foods, fruits and vegetables. And her skin did improve dramatically over the course of 4 months, which is kind of saying a lot because pregnancy is so hard. Like hormones are crazy. So there are things though that can still be helpful and override some of those hormonal effects. I would say amongst my patients with really stubborn melasma, I use a compound cream with hydroquinone and tretinoin, and I find that to be very effective. And when it's really stubborn, doing oral tranexamic acid. Now, I didn't talk about procedures. I'm gonna briefly say which procedures I do recommend for people with melasma. I'm not gonna focus on that because my main goal is to have, for people with melasma, is to have a solid skincare regimen. That is the most important thing, because if you do procedures and you don't have a solid skincare regimen, the melasma is going to come right back. But in terms of procedures that I like for melasma, I am a big fan of chemical peels. You just have to be careful that you really avoid the sun the first 2 weeks really after your chemical peel. And I am also a fan of microneedling, because makes it a great opportunity to apply products like tranexamic acid to the skin that can really get into the skin more effectively, because you have these microscopic channels that are open from the microneedling. I'm a little bit more wary about lasers, just because the heat that's emitted from lasers can potentially make melasma worse. People definitely do use lasers for melasma. I kind of stay away from that. And I would say that's pretty much it. Well, you know, melasma, it can be so freaking stubborn, but please don't let it take control of your confidence. There are ways to treat it. You want to start with protecting your skin, supporting your body from the inside out, and building a consistent and effective skincare routine. If you found this video to be helpful, please make sure to hit that like button, share it with somebody that you know who's been struggling with melasma. It'll mean a lot to me, it'll mean a lot to them. Thank you. I'll see you next time.